Okay, let's get started. Okay, so here are the bushings. This is after I finished sanding them. As you can see, it's a little chalky. It's probably because of the dye they use on the filament. But anyway, this is what they look like when they come out of the printer. And what I do is I go ahead and sand them down. I sand on the edges, make them a little smoother, and that's about it, really. So I have a list here so we can go through them so I don't waste any time and I can be a little more concise. So let's start. Okay, so what are the door bushings? Well, they stabilize the door from movement by adding a little preload on the doors. It is thought to prevent the frame from flexing, essentially adding a little bit of rigidity to the car, or the perception of rigidity. So maybe it's not actually adding rigidity, but it's doing something, it's translating some vibrations or whatever that might be. But it's actually giving you a feeling that the chassis is a little stiffer. Okay. Is it snake oil? Well, not really, because TRD came out with a part that does essentially what these bushings are going to be doing. But except for TRD charges a lot for them, but in their defense, they make an actual lock system that's spring loaded. It's beautifully done, but unfortunately it doesn't add as much preload as the bushing, so it basically doesn't have as much of an effect, but the effect is pretty nice. And the advantage with the TRD part is the doors don't have any problem closing. They close just fine, just like they did without the part. But the bushings that I'm selling are cheaper, and even though it has a little bit of quirkiness of a bit of tightness, it does give you more preload and you get to feel it a little bit more. So Mazda also uses these kind of bushings, and they came up with an aftermarket part which replaces the Mazda rubber part that goes on the car, and people have noticed increased rigidity and all of the good effects that come from this kind of a modification. Even they also have a little difficulty closing the doors. In other words, it's a little tight, but it's nothing too bad, nothing to be majorly concerned about. It may even get better over time. Okay, and surprisingly, even Lexus, I noticed, has something like a plastic piece near the door hinge and a little cup that captures it, and probably it increases the integrity of the vehicle, integrity of the doors. You know, maybe a lot of these German cars always striving for better body integrity, but you know, it starts with the doors as well. Okay, so here's some positive attributes. As we discussed, it increases the feel of rigidity. It's slightly more responsive steering, so in other words, it takes up a little bit more slack, and so it's a little bit more responsive. There's less of a delay. This is what some people noticed. That's what I noticed. Okay, it also supposedly reduces the noise, harmonics, and vibration. The Mazda guys experienced this. I've experienced this. I've not experienced this being a passenger, and some of the other testers. Okay, the testers have reported a feeling that the front and rear are behaving as one solid piece. Yes, I have felt this as well. What happens is the car actually feels like the front and rear are communicating, as a lot of the testers have basically said exactly the same thing. Even they didn't know what the other testers had said beforehand. So there is definitely something there in the feel of the car. It's a good feeling. A lot of us like it that have experienced it. So, you know, there is something definitely to these bushings. So why will you not feel the benefits? Suppose you get the bushings and you're not feeling it. It just feels kind of the same. There's not that much, or there's nothing at all. Okay, so it depends on your car. You know, everyone's car is different. Everyone's chassis modifications are different. You may or may not feel it. You know, if you don't feel it, you don't feel it. Okay, so it also depends on your sensitivity to the bushings. You know, some people will be more sensitive to their cars, to the little bumps, to the little things. You know, they might be more sensitive. Some people are not. You know, they just drive, and then that's the end of it for them. Okay? So I can't say that what I feel is what you're going to feel. But all the testers that I've sent these bushings to are fitted them personally on their car, have felt the rigidity. They came back with comparable notes, so I know it's more than a placebo effect. It is probably more of a subjective effect than an objective effect for right now. Okay? But there's one thing that you will notice, that the doors will close a little bit more solidly. Okay, usually our doors are a bit on the flimsy side, but when you close the doors, they close a lot more solid. They feel like a normal car's door for once. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Okay, so we're going to go over the installation, but before we go over the installation, let's go over some things that are quite interesting. Now, what are the bushings made out of? The bushings are made out of a material called alloy 910. Okay, it is a kind of nylon that has a very good amount of tensile strength, and it still has the property of nylons where it has good elongation, so it actually is flexible when it's pushed to the limit. So it has these two properties, and you want that because it makes it durable for this kind of purpose. You don't want these bushings to be too stiff. For good reason, and basically you want it to be durable, and that's what nylon will do. Nylon's a very good material for that. It's hard to print, but I got through it, so now we have these bushings. So what is the correct orientation of the bushings? Okay, well, the correct orientation is basically this way. Basically what will happen is the bushings will go and contact the door jamb surface, and make contact, and it will create the preload. Okay, so basically this is the correct orientation. It goes towards the interior of the car. All right, it's as simple as that. Now, why is the top material chalky? Well, it's chalky because I sand them down, so make them a little bit smoother, so it has a little more slip. I don't need to do that, but I do that because I think it's better, so that basically it's not grabby. So anyway, I kind of smooth out the surface, and it ends up becoming chalky because the filament is dyed black. So when you sand it, you're probably sanding a little bit of that dye. I wouldn't worry about it. It's just purely cosmetic, and it should not be any worry. The part will function. It just looks a little chalky. That's all. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that you're going to have to pick up to make a successful installation of your door bushings. All right. You want some of this clear plastic repair tape from Gorilla. All right, Gorilla sells this clear plastic repair tape. It's really good stuff. And the reason why you want it is because you want to add this to your door jamb. All right, this is going to be the contact surface. The bushing the bushing contacts. All right, makes contact with on your door jamb. And the reason why we use this is so that we do not ruin the paint finish on your door jamb. However, the testers did not use this, and they didn't experience any kind of wear on their door jamb. And the reason why is because nylon is a very slippery material. Okay, so it will not abrade the door jamb. However, we don't know everything. So it's always better to be safe than sorry, and it's better to pick some of the stuff up and apply it to your door jamb, and after it's done, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. And I'll explain how to apply this later, and you shouldn't have any problem. All right, another thing that you may want to pick up is more of this 3M double-sided tape. When I say more of, I provide you with the 3M tape already on the back of the door bushing for you to install, so it makes installation easier. However, there may be a situation where we need to add thickness, so you may have to purchase another roll of this 3M double-sided tape. I'll explain that later. All right. Another thing that you want to go ahead and purchase is some of this fishing line. If you may already have it already, so you just get some fishing line. And the reason why you want the fishing line is so that you can remove the bushing a lot easier. So you basically get it on the edge of the bushing where it meets the tape, and work it so that it loosens the bushing up and where the tape is contacting, and then you can slowly and gently pry it as you go along with a thin, small screwdriver, and have it lift off. And be very careful with this because you don't want to break the bushing. I mean, the bushing won't break. It's very, very hard. However, you may go ahead and screw the edges up. So you want to go ahead and just apply it slowly, just so that you can kind of just work off the contact surface. You know, work it as you go around the edges. A hair dryer helps immensely because it makes the tape a little bit more gooey, and it'll come off. It should come off without too much difficulty. All right. Another thing that you want to purchase is, or you might have it laying around the house, is some alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and we use this rubbing alcohol on the part of the door so that it's nice and clean, so the tape adheres well to it. All right. And the last thing that you may require is a little bit of this paste wax. It's a Carnauba paste wax. We found that using a little bit of this paste wax makes the door slide right in. Any of the tightness that's there, it would just be gone, almost gone. So it works pretty well. I was actually quite surprised with some of the testers when we actually put this on their door. The doors were closing really well, so I highly recommend this stuff. But we'll talk about more about this later as well. But basically, these are some of the things that you're going to need. First, you're going to need some scissors. Essentially, you want to pick some of this stuff up before your install. Now, when you receive your bushings, you will already have the 3M tape attached to this. I'll cut them out and I'll have the 3M tape attached to this. Makes it easier for you to install. But I'm going to show you how to install the 3M tape on top of this bushing in case you have to do it yourself. It's very easy. In fact, I shouldn't have to show this to you, but I will. Okay, just lay it out, get it close to the edge. All right, like this. Leave a little extra hanging off so you can cut it out. All right, there's one side. Just cut this with the scissors. All right, take the other side here and just join these two pieces together like so. Okay, and again, cut 3M tape. Okay, now you have the 3M tape spread across. Take your scissors and just cut out the 3M tape. As simple as that. And there you go. All right. Now, we want to check for initial fitment. So, we're going to do something that's quite interesting. We're going to check for fitment before we actually install this bushing. And how do we do that? Well, it's very easy. All we do is we take the clear plastic Gorilla tape that we purchased, all right? I like this stuff because it cuts very clean. Let's see here. About this much, and tear. There we go. And what we do is we wrap it around this, put it on the back of the bushing. Now, after you're done with this, you're going to have to be very careful when you remove this because it might take the red covering off and expose the 3M double-sided tape. So you want to just be very careful when you remove this, otherwise this outer covering will come off with it. So just keep this here like this, and we're going to put this onto the door so we can actually check for the fitment. Okay, so now we're going to test for fitment of the bushing, and as you remember, we're using some of that Gorilla clear plastic tape on the underside of the bushing before we remove the plastic covering of the 3M double-sided tape. So we just looped it over, and if you notice on your door, there appears to be what looks like a indentation. It is an exact, almost a square indentation. This is where the bushing is going to go. Okay, so remember the correct orientation of the bushing. Okay, this is the correct orientation of the bushing, the way it goes into the door, and where we want to place it is actually closest to the inside of the door. So we want to get up to this edge. You'll actually feel kind of this indentation here. Don't try to get it to where it ramps. Just get it to where at the end of the ramp there's a nice little line here. Okay, and generally I like to put it somewhere in the middle. You can actually put it anywhere along this. It doesn't really matter, but I like to put it sort of near the middle, about right there. Okay, so now it's on the door. Okay, let's test for initial fitment. So, you want to kind of just hold the bushing in like this, guide it in to where it makes contact with the door jamb, and then push it against the door and close the door. Make sure that it's latched. Now, what you want to do is wait for approximately 5 minutes, and what will happen is the tape will actually bind a little bit better to the door, and it'll hold a little bit better so it doesn't kind of droop or doesn't kind of hang. If it hangs, it's fine. Even if you open it and it hangs a little bit, just kind of guide it in and test, and then you can test for fitment. So let's wait for 5 minutes and we'll come back to this. Okay, now that our 5 minutes have expired, we want to go ahead and check for fitment. And the best way to check for fitment is to go through a check-off list of 3 different criterias. All right. One of the criterias that we want to check for is how well does it resist movement, the door actually resisting movement, compared to how it was before we added the bushing. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and push on the door. Okay. And what do we notice? We notice that it's nice and tight. It's nice and tight. The door's not moving as much, or we don't feel it as moving. Okay, you can probably see it on camera moving, but when you're actually pushing on it, you don't feel anything. So that means that you have good fitment. All right, so that criteria is over. Next criteria we want to check for is when we open up the door, it will make an audible pop. Okay, so that audible pop tells you that there was pretension on the door, just the right amount. It shouldn't be too loud. If it's too loud, that means you have too much pretension. Okay, the other thing that the last thing you want to check for is a little bit of drag when you open the door. Okay, just a little bit of drag. Okay, and if you remember, we added that we looped the Gorilla Tape so that it can actually hold on a little better. You can notice it's still a little loose, but it will still allow you to open and close the door. All right, there. So I closed the door, open the door, close the door, open the door, and here you can judge whether you like it or not. All right. And if you like the way that it's opening and closing, you're done. That's it. See, it's quite easy to open and close the door. And basically, it's going to give you more than the TRD part. So there's preload on it. The drag isn't that much, little, but not too much, and you're fine. Now we like our fitment. So what we're going to do next is add the Gorilla Clear Protection Tape. All right. Our clear protection repair tape. And what we're going to do is we're going to see where the bushing is making contact with the door jamb. It's a good idea where it's going to make contact. And then what we do is we will apply the tape. Making sure to stretch it out so it lays nice and flat. Okay, we'll take out any bubbling. Okay, make it to the edge. Okay, and you just cut it right off. All right, okay. And of course, you can do this neater if you take your time and use a pair of scissors, probably better. Cut some nice strips. Okay, I'm just doing it quickly to kind of just demonstrate how to do it. And you want to put another strip on, probably better to overlap them. Okay. Get it all the way to the edge. Okay, get out any bubbles. Using your thumb. Okay, get to the edge. Just nicely cut it off. Okay. Of course, you can always get a razor blade and tighten it up a bit so you don't have any fraying. All right, but basically that's about it. All right, now what we're going to do is to check for fitment once more. All right, kind of the same thing. Your bushing goes in, close the door, open the door. Now you notice there is more drag because obviously it's going to be a little grabby with the tape, and that's fine. It will get better over time. But to alleviate this, what we will do is add a little bit of the paste wax. Now with the paste wax in hand, what we want to do is add a little on the finger, onto the tape. Okay, and maybe a little on the bushing. door, open the door. There, look at that. That's infinitely better. Okay, so, and that's pretty much it. Now that everything is done and you're satisfied with the fit, we have one last thing to do, and that is to permanently attach the bushing. And the way you can do that is use a little bit of Gorilla Tape to kind of find an edge. One side of it. Other side. So now the 3M double-sided tape is exposed, and remember the orientation, and remember this little ridge here. We want it at the bottom of the ridge, we want it to ramp up. Get it somewhere in the middle. Try to be as straight as possible, and place the bushing in. Don't worry about this. This is residue from a 3M tape because I've been testing this on my car, and I probably just have to work that out to remove some of this 3M residue. Okay, so it didn't damage my paint, it's just some residue. So now the bushing's in. Now we close the door, open the door, perfect. This is a good fit, and this is what you're looking for. See that? I can just press down on it, it's nice and solid. I'll go pop, and you're done. And that's it. That is the door bushing, and it shouldn't cause you any trouble. So we determined, let's say that the bushing fits, and it fits well and meets all the criteria of good fitment. Well, there's nothing else you need to do except for removing the protective tape. You know, you have to grab an edge carefully, a knife will help. All right, to kind of peel up that little bit of the edge and expose the surface. All right, so you're pretty much done. You install it where it's supposed to be installed, and there you go. You're done. However, let's say that you need more pretension. Okay, it's not contacting the door for some reason, and you need to add more thickness. Well, that's easy. All you need to do is get some more of this 3M tape now that you bought. Okay, and just add it over the existing 3M tape. All right, so it's very simple. Just do as you did before. Well, you won't do it before because I'll provide you with 3M tape. You just have to buy the 3M tape over the 3M tape. Okay, so just make sure the surfaces are edged correctly. Okay. You'll probably have this edged better, but just take your time with it anyway and cut it out. Now, you have added more thickness to your bushing. In my opinion, you don't need to add any more than this. However, if there is a situation where it's still not thick enough, well, I would go one more round with the 3M tape and triple thicken it. You can do this. Nothing's going to happen. The 3M tape squishes down. It adds about 0.25 millimeters worth of thickness, and it does not change any of the preload or whatever. It doesn't make it squishy or anything like that. It'll actually go ahead and flatten down, and it'll be just fine. You wouldn't have to worry about it. But this is a great way of adding thickness. Let's say the bushing is too tight. Now this shouldn't happen because I make these bushings with the right amount of tolerance being a little on the loose side, so you can add shims if you have to with the 3M tape. But you know, anything's possible. It could actually end up being too tight. And there are a few things that you can do. All right. Each bushing is about 29.16 to 29.3 millimeters in thickness. Okay, that's the tolerance. And I left a provision of solid layers on the bushing so that it can be sanded. So you can only sand about 0.25 millimeters of thickness. And you could do this with 220 grit sandpaper on a pad sander. It may take you a little while because the nylon's quite slippery, but that's one way of addressing if it's too tight. All right. Another thing you can do is just, well, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. Maybe you don't like the bushing. You can return it to me for a refund. That's fine. Okay. And the last thing is a nuclear option. You can pretty much send me back the bushing. Okay. And I will go ahead and make you a custom bushing that's probably less thick. All right, at my suggestion or your suggestion, whatever you think is that would work for you. And once I send that bushing to you, that's it. I cannot go back and forth and get you the Goldilocks of bushings. That's just not going to happen. You have a one-time thing where if you send it back to me and you have to pay for the shipping to me, it'll be about $3 by first class mail. I will go ahead and reduce the tolerance on the bushing and send that out to you, and that's it. You're pretty much stuck with it. So those are your three options that you have if the bushings are too tight. Hopefully that shouldn't be a problem, and maybe it might be a case where you're actually adding tolerance, which is a good thing. Okay, so I give you that option as a one-time option if you want to go ahead and do that. We'll try to see if we can make it work out for you. Let's wrap this up and get to the questions and answers. All right. Will my bushings wear out? I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't know. I assume they won't. They should probably last a long time, but like any bushing, bushings wear out. This is, even though it's plastic, it is kind of a bushing. It has flex to it, so over time it will take a beating. It may wear out, but it probably won't be in the foreseeable future. So rest assured that it should give you good service. All right. Okay. Next question. What if I don't like the bushings? Okay. You may not like the bushings. Okay. Maybe you don't like the fitment. You know, it can happen. If you don't like the fitment, then that's fine. You can return them to me for a full refund, except that you're going to have to fork out the $3 it costs to send them back to me by first class mail. Okay, and I will take care of the rest. I will issue you a full refund. Now, but I suggest that you do the initial trial fitment we discussed earlier with the Gorilla tape before you actually expose the 3M double-sided tape. Okay, so you do the initial trial fitment. You realize, hey, you know, I don't like this. I don't like the way that it's set up. I don't like this on my car. Whatever. Just go ahead and remove them, send them in the mail back to me, and I will get you your refund. All right. Let's say you go through the fitment portion of it, and you say, okay, I got everything to fit. It meets all the criteria. You permanently install them on your car, exposing the red 3M tape, and you take it for a drive, and you realize, you know what, I don't feel anything. You know, it can happen, like we discussed earlier. So what I suggest you do is remove them as soon as possible, because the longer the 3M tape is on the car, it'll bond much stronger, and it'll become a bear to remove. So, and when it's a bear to remove, it's more easier to damage the bushing during its removal. So remove it right away. One drive should let you know that if it's doing something for you or it's not doing something for you. So remove them right away and send them back to me. Same thing. Send them back to me and I will get you a full refund. All right. Another question is, what kind of paste wax do I recommend? All right. Well, don't buy this. This is quite expensive. This is like $60 a jar. It's ridiculous. I don't know why I bought it, but I bought it and now it just sits on my shelf. You can use any cheap carnauba wax. That's what I suggest you use. It's very safe on the paint. Of course, they use it on paint. So you apply a little bit on the Gorilla Tape, a little bit on the bushing, and you're good to go. All right. How often do you have to wax it? I don't know. That's a good question. I think it should last quite a while. If it starts getting grabby again, just go ahead and just with one finger apply a little paste on it, and you're good to go for a very long time. All right. What about pretension? What about more versus less pretension? What I've noticed was more pretension does not increase the effect. Okay, maybe it does, but I didn't notice that to be true. All right, as long as the bushing is making contact and the door is arrested, it's definitely going to do more than the TRD part. All right, so maybe there is something, because obviously these give you a little bit more pretension. There's something to be said about it, but I think it's probably diminishing returns. You want a good opening and closing door. That's actually more important. But if you want to add more pretension, very well, go ahead and add another layer of tape. It may be a little harder to open and close your door. It's nothing too horrible. You just have to kind of make sure your door gets closed well, and close your door a little harder than you normally do. Apart from that, everything should be fine. All right. One other question. What about the driver's side sticker? Okay, remember there's that little vehicular sticker on the driver's side, and that's where the bushing makes contact on that side. Now you can do one of two things. You can add one of three things. You can add the Gorilla Tape, clear plastic tape over that, preserving that and letting that slide. You can not use any Gorilla Tape and just let that sticker be the protection sticker, and it shouldn't wear down. In my tests, I noticed that sticker basically holds well. There's nothing to it. In fact, you can add a little wax to that. That's not a problem. That actually has a clear plastic kind of finish on it. Okay, another thing you can do is remove that sticker carefully with the razor blade. Remove that sticker carefully with razor blade. Keep it in the home or whatever. Keep it with in your glove box, or you can actually take off the tape and move it to another location on the door jamb. You can easily do that as well. Not a problem. The choice is up to you. I have mine bare. It doesn't seem to affect the vehicular sticker, but if you start noticing some wear or something like that, then you can probably at that point remove the sticker or add the Gorilla Tape on top of that and be done with it. It shouldn't be a problem. So that's about it, really. So I hope you enjoy the bushings. I like to hear from you and let me know how you like them. And I wish you the best of luck on your bushing install. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. Thank you.